Notice, this video was made before the publication of Player Core 2, and so uses some of the class options from the original Pathfinder 2 core rulebook. Hello YouTube, and welcome to Cyprime Productions. I'm here to help enhance your tabletop gaming experience. So, I have an admission to make for all of you guys. When I was younger, I was a massive weeb. So much so that I even went to Japan to teach English for a year. For those who don't know, the definition I've always heard is that a weeb is a non-Japanese person who is really into Japanese culture, history, and entertainment and won't shut up about it. And listen, I have gotten better as I've gotten older, but you never truly lose your weebness. Weebosity? Weebization? Whatever. Being a weeb never truly leaves you. As such, for the longest time, I've wanted to make an anime-style swordsman in Pathfinder, dating all the way back to Pathfinder 1. I was actually over the moon to hear about the warrior poet archetype for the samurai, only to not be able to play one before Pathfinder 2 came out and everybody switched over to that. Well, recently I thought about making an anime-style swordsman again, and to my surprise I came up with not one, not two, but 3 builds. So, over the course of the next month or so, I hope to come out with 3 short build videos talking about how to make these kind of characters. To get started, let's define our terms. What do I consider an anime-style swordsman? After all, Guts from the anime Beserk is a swordsman and from an anime, but I don't count him as an anime-style swordsman. Don't get me wrong, he's a great character and there's a lot of roleplay potential there, it's just not the aesthetic I'm going for. No, I'm looking for the likes of Rurouni Kenshin, Zoro from One Piece, Mugen and Jin from Samurai Champloo, the entirety of the Shinigami from Bleach, most of the Demon Slayer Corps from Demon Slayer, and so many more. That is the vibe I'm going for. And to make sure I accomplish that, I have put down 3 criteria for my build. The first is that my character has to use a katana, or at least a curved katana-like sword. Basically, I want a sword that is either a katana or could be mistaken for a katana if you squint. The second criteria is that they are unarmored. I know that there are plenty of anime swordsmen who have armor, even samurai-style armor, and if that's what you want, that's fine. But for this specific vibe I'm going for, no armor. And lastly, they have to be good, skilled combatants. That means having a decent ability to hit, a decent armor class, decent hit points, all of that. After all, if all I had were the first 2 criteria, I could just find a way to give a katana to Ezrin the Wizard and call it a day. No, I want a character that's able to survive in frontline combat. So, today I'm going to cover the first build I've developed to accomplish this, and the build actually has 3 variations. So, you know the drill, let's go through the ABCs of character creation. The first variation has us go with the elf ancestry. It doesn't matter what our heritage is, but for our ancestry feat we need to take elf weapon familiarity. We are also going to want to choose the alternate attribute rules in order to get a bonus to strength and dexterity. The second variation is exactly like the first, except we go with a human ancestry and the Ayuvaran or half-elf heritage. Then elven weapon familiarity and a bonus to strength and dexterity again. The third variation is to go full human, and for our heritage, take general training. Which gets us a general feat. Use that feat to pick up the adopted ancestry for elf, and then our ancestry feat to pick up elven weapon familiarity. Also, give yourself a bonus to strength and dexterity as the other 2 builds. B is for background, and honestly, our background doesn't really matter here as long as we get another bonus to strength and dexterity. Probably the most thematic is martial disciple, though raised by belief for certain religions like Shizuru would not go amiss. Pick whatever you want, I'll just go with martial disciple for the sake of this video. I'll put the bonuses from the background up on screen now. C is for class, and we are going to go with Monk. The reason for this is because they are the class that has the best unarmored defense in the game, starting off at Expert and getting up to Legendary. True, a champion also gets up to Legendary in all armored and unarmored defenses, but they start off at Trained, just like everybody else. Going with monk ensures that we have a good AC from the get-go. Now as a monk, you get to increase either your strength or dexterity here. Strength will let us hit a little harder in our final build. Dexterity will make us harder to be hit. I'll go with dexterity here, but the choice is yours. For our class feat, we are going to grab monastic weaponry. And for skills, choose whatever you want, though acrobatics or athletics should probably be a choice if you didn't pick them up in your background. I'll list all the other things that monks get here. Finally, you get 4 free attribute boosts. Make sure your strength and dexterity are +3 and +4 in whichever order you want, and your constitution should be +1, and you can stick that other +1 wherever you want. Maybe wisdom if you want to be like a wise swordsman, or charisma if you want to do some intimidating. It's up to you. As you can probably tell, we are not going to be using a katana, but an elven curved blade, which I'm going to count as close enough. Remember, monks are trained in all simple weapons, and because of elven weapon familiarity, the martial weapon elven curved blade counts as a simple weapon in our hands. It's a finesse weapon, so if we chose to have a high dex, we still are just as accurate as the high strength build because we can use dex to hit. For level 1, just go around either punching people or using an elven curved blade and not using flurry of blows with it, as it is not a monk weapon. Or you can do something else, maybe grab a temple sword, heck, use a bow staff, that's B-O staff, and count it as a wooden nodachi if you want. Just survive until level 2. That is when the build really comes online. At level 2, we pick up the class feat Ancestral Weaponry. This monk feat lets us use our elf finesse weapons to count as monk weapons, and that's the gist of the build. We can now flurry of blows with our elven curve blade, and even stunning strike with it if we get that feat. Side note, we can also make a spear fighter with this technique by using the elven branched spear, another finesse weapon. From there on, you can level up as you see fit, though I would draw your attention to the Stoked Flame stance feats. This is one of the few martial arts stances that don't require you to make specific unarmed strikes, unlike, say, Crane stance. This means you can totally use your elven curved blade while in this stance. The first feat doesn't do much for you other than increasing your speed, but the second feat gives you fire and cold resist, and the third feat lets you, as 3 actions, stride twice, attacking up to 4 creatures along the way, letting you do that anime thing where you move past a bunch of guys, and only after you're done do they all fall down. And that's it. That's the build. Now, before you run down to the comments and tell me how terrible I am, let me head you off at the pass. I know your complaints. The first is that this isn't a mechanically optimal build, and you're right. It's not bad, but it's not game-breaking. It is a build designed to get you an anime-style swordsman, but it's not going to be setting any combat records. The second complaint is that maybe some of you don't want to play an elf or human raised by elves. You want to play a human raised by humans because most anime don't have elves in their universe. And the third complaint I can foresee is that you don't want any of this mamby-pamby elven curve blade nonsense. You want to use the real honest-to-goodness katana. Well, just you wait. Build 2 will solve at least 2 of those complaints. One final note, I know there are probably a million little directions you could take this build or minor tweaks you could make to it. Let me know in the comments below if this build gave you any new ideas. If you like this channel and want to see it grow, please like and subscribe. That tells not only me, but also YouTube that you want to see more of my kind of content. Until then, thank you, good luck, and happy gaming.